I'm Bibb Allen. I'm the Chief Medical Officer of the ACR's Data Science Institute, and with me is Keith Dreyer, who's the Chief Science Officer for the Data Science Institute, and we're going to talk today about the Data Science Institute's new project, the AI Lab. Keith, it's been 2 years since the ACR started the Data Science Institute, and a lot's been happening in AI.
Right.
What do you see as sort of the reasons behind the Data Science Institute, and what should radiologists be looking for in the future?
So if you think back to a couple years ago when we started this, AI was even newer then. There were a lot of companies coming out with algorithms showing that they could actually work for the first time in a lot of cases. And I think the challenge then was, how do we apply these to our clinical practices? How do we even implement them in our clinical practices? And how do we help vendors to create them faster? And how do we also include clinicians, radiologists in the process of creating these to make sure that they're being created the way that we see that they're best for our patients and for our care? So the challenge still exists today in a lot of ways about deploying algorithms throughout our hospitals. I think the challenges that exist today that are still there from before are creating the right use cases, making sure that we're having the correct algorithms come in place and actually be deployed inside the clinical practices inside of our facilities.
So what, if you had to sort of summarize, what would you say have been the Data Science Institute's biggest accomplishments so far?
I think the notion of the need for narrow AI that's going to win the day. I think if you think back to just a few years ago, it was hard to say whether generalized AI or narrow AI was going to accelerate faster. I think that it is clearly still the case that narrow AI focusing on specific use cases is important to get high accuracies. And so when we embarked on defining what those use cases are for all the separate organ systems and subspecialties was a really important first step.
Yeah, right. So I guess when I think of narrow AI, I sort of liken it to what, like, the American Medical Association has come out with, talking about augmented intelligence,
Right.
Sort of the idea of humans and machines sort of working together to solve problems, as opposed to when you said general AI, which is sort of still kind of the stuff of science fiction movies. Is that about right?
Well, right. So it's focusing the power of a neural network on a specific case,
Sure.
use case, so you can increase the accuracy. But to your point, you're right. You may not want it to do everything in that use case because it just can't. So when it comes to, say, diagnosing a disease, what part of it would you prefer to have AI come to the rescue and help you with in that process?
Oh, that's right. So the Data Science Institute has set up a number of different tools, most of which are helping radiologists use our expertise, our domain expertise, if you will, to help developers pick the right things to build AI around, our structured use cases and so forth. Also, we have tools like for validating AI algorithms, and tools for assessing the algorithms in clinical practice, like Assess AI.